Showing 2 o'clock. Are we ready to tackle this?
Yes, Chairman. Ready here.
Let's call this meeting to order. This is a work session, a commission meeting for discussion, consideration, possible action regarding publication for public comment of proposed amendments to Untitled Chapter 803 as the Skills Development Fund. Let's start off with public comment. I know that there's some folks that have indicated they would like to have public comment. So let me turn it over to Mr. Trobman and ask him to coordinate the public comment portion of the meeting.
Sure. Good afternoon, commissioners. We have several people here. Some of them are just here as a resource. So if you don't mind, when I call your name, if you please unmute yourself and go ahead and present comments, introduce yourself and who you represent. And if you're just to as a resource, go ahead and state that as well. So off top, we have Roger Harris. I'm gonna mute. Good, unmute yourself, there you go.
Okay, this is Roger Harris. I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you want me to read my comments now or when you get into that agenda item?
This will be the appropriate time to go ahead and provide your comments.
Okay, very good. Chair Daniel, Commissioner Demerson, Commissioner Alvarez, Executive Director Cerna, members of staff, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Roger Harris. I chair the North Central Texas Workforce Development Board, chair of the Texas Association of Workforce Boards, and a local business owner and operator in Texas for over 30 years. Thank you for the opportunity to address this meeting. The Texas Association of Workforce Board, which represents 28 local workforce development boards in Texas, opposes the Texas Workforce Commission proposed rule changes to Chapter 803.14a of the Texas Labor Code for administration of the Texas Skills Development Fund. The changes would remove the requirement that local workforce development boards review non-board skill development fund applications before submission to TWC. We believe removing this requirement will diminish the leadership role and local authority of employer-driven workforce development boards in the planning, coordination, and aligning of training within their regions, as well as their ability to leverage regional resources and expertise to facilitate the implementation of sector strategies. This proposed rule change violates the bedrock principle of local control expressed in the state and federal legislation establishing local workforce development boards. Through the Skill Development Fund, the state of Texas invests in training programs that align with the employer demand as needed for long-term regional economic vitality. This important and effective funding mechanism ensures that regional employer-led projects will support the goals in both economic development and workforce development stakeholders. The Skill Development Fund grants also are a way of policymakers to institutionalize collaboration within regions. According to the Texas Workforce Commission, the Skill Development Fund is Texas' premier job training program, providing local customized training opportunities for Texas businesses and workers to increase skill levels and wages of the Texas workforce. Success is achieved through collaboration among businesses, public community, technical colleges, workforce development boards, and economic development partners. Texas Workforce Commission has gone to great lengths to develop policies to recognize workforce development boards as the leaders in their region when it comes to workforce development by requiring information sharing and collaboration. Currently, Skill Development Fund applicants are required to obtain and submit local workforce development board comments for their grant application. This requirement ensures local workforce development boards have an opportunity to help plan, coordinate, and align training in the region and to represent to Texas Workforce Commission that the planned use of the grant funds appear appropriately dedicated for genuine needs of regional employers. This also allows local workforce development boards to leverage regional resources and expertise to facilitate implementation of sector strategies. Local workforce development boards must maintain the opportunity to monitor how economic shifts affect the workforce, to adapt the training investments and programs in alignment with projected employer demand, and inform business about opportunities and job prospects in particular industries. As stated in the Texas Workforce Commission Skill Development Fund Rule Amendments Policy Concept dated January 7, 2020, the proposed rules changes are intended to address purported concerns of unidentified potential non-board grant applicants about requiring another potential grant applicant to review and comment on the application before submitting it to TWC, specifically that this may appear to provide a workforce development board with potential advantage in the development of its own skill development fund application, following the adoption of HB 700 by the 86th Texas Legislature. Texas Association of Workforce Boards submits that the premise of the proposed rules that the addition of Workforce Development Board as eligible skill development fund grant applicants, grantees, creates a conflict of interest or unfair advantage is misguided. The Workforce Development Board itself is prevented by existing law from actually delivering training or educational services of this nature, and any competition between a Workforce Development Board and another potential skill development fund grantee involving preparation of the curriculum for the same training and benefiting the same employer is highly speculative and unlikely. And even if there is justification for these concerns, which Texas Association of Workforce Board does not concede, alternative rules could be easily put in place that do not violate the principle of local control by entirely shutting employer-driven workforce development boards out of the skill development fund grant applications, particularly where workforce development boards have not submitted any application. First, Texas Workforce Commission and not the local workforce development boards make the final decision on skill development fund grant applications, so there is arguably no conflict at all. Second, HB 700 limits the participation of workforce development boards to certain activities in limited circumstances. HB 700, when read in connection with the other applicable laws, provides the workforce development boards may only use skill development funds for limited purposes as emergency or startup funds for developing and not providing or delivering customized training programs, for example, content and curriculum, for businesses and trade unions, and for sponsoring small and medium-sized business networks or consortiums. The purpose of HB 700 adopted by, which added local workforce development boards as eligible skill development fund grant recipients, is to accelerate progress toward achievement of the goals of the 60 by 30 higher education strategic plan. The authors of HB 700 recognize that in some instances, community colleges and other providers are unable to provide the desired training in an area, and by adding local workforce development boards as eligible applicants, employer or labor union requested training could be provided by another workforce development board contracted provider using curriculum developed under the Skill Development Fund grant to the Workforce Development Board. Allowing an additional avenue to develop and provide curriculum for customized training programs serves to achieve the purposes of HB 700 and 60 by 30 by increasing the number of individuals receiving training services, potentially obtaining a post-secondary credential. Workforce development boards have unique non-competitive roles in their communities owing to their governance structures and to the requirement to subcontract direct services. Equating workforce development boards and education and training providers, which may also apply for the skill development fund grants and which can directly provide education and training services, is a false comparison. As such, there really is not an inherent conflict. Even if there could be, we do not anticipate that it would arise frequently, if at all, as we do not believe the addition of workforce development boards as eligible skill development fund grant recipients will result in numerous skill development fund grant applications for the same or similar projects for more than one eligible applicant within a single workforce development board area. Workforce development boards have every incentive to partner with the qualified education and training providers in the region. Likewise, we believe vast majority of training providers in Texas value the input and collaboration of workforce development boards, which helps them to provide timely skills training in their area. Texas Association of Workforce Board also urges Texas Workforce Commission to consider the unique value that the local workforce development boards provide in their communities in fulfilling their roles as conveners, coordinators, which include coordinating and working closely with their local education and training providers. Texas Workforce Commission should also consider the unintended consequences of undermining boards by removing their ability to sign at a high level the nexus of education, training, and economic development that occurs through the Skill Development Fund projects and weakening the results of the Skill Development Fund projects as a consequence of not having the local workforce development board involved in them. Even if there was some lingering concern about perceived conflicts of interest, alternatives also exist that do not violate the principle of local control and shut workforce development boards out of the Skill Development Fund grants but their own. Texas Workforce Commission could instead enact a rule that provides that a local workforce development board should refrain from comment on a competing SDF grant application that targets the same employers and the development of the same skills. Texas Workforce Commission could also enact a rule that restricts the Workforce Development Board from submitting a Skill Development Fund grant application unless it certifies that no other qualified organization was reasonably available to fill the Workforce Development Board's contemplated role in the grant. Neither of these would have the impact on local control, and either or both would adequately address any issue arising from the limited inclusion of workforce development boards in the Skill Development Fund grants as authorized by HB 700. In summary, Texas Association of Workforce Boards believes that employer-driven workforce development board and unique value, not competition, to fulfill the Skill Development Fund grant program in the state of Texas. Supplier-driven concerns about competition for their services have no place in the employer-driven system and should be recognized for what they are. Workforce development boards should be allowed to continue operating in their required oversight, planning, coordination roles in concert with the Texas Workforce Commission, and there is no good reason to violate the principles of local control here where alternatives exist to address any legitimate concern. Texas Association of Workforce Boards appreciate the opportunity to provide public comment on these proposed rule changes, stand ready to explore these issues further with Texas Workforce Commission leadership so that we can continue to foster a premier workforce development system in Texas. Thank you very, very much for your time today.
We have Greg Vaughn.
Yes, this is Greg Vaughn. Thank you. I'm just here today to serve as a resource.
Excellent, thank you. We have David Setzer.
Okay, I'm going to mute it now. I think it was stated very well in the position paper from the association. So just here to answer any questions if you might have some.
Great, thank you. And finally, we have Leighton Schubert.
This is Leighton Schubert. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. My name is Leighton Schubert. I'm the Executive Vice Chancellor at Glenn College District, which is based in Brenham, but having 5 campuses around the kind of eastern central Texas area. Very thankful for the opportunity to provide comment today on HB 700. I'm joined today by a couple of the Glenn personnel who are available to provide any additional information the Commission may need. Just for your information, they include Karen Buck, who's our Vice Chancellor of Administration. They also have Jay Anderson, who's our Vice Chancellor for Health Sciences, Technical Education, and Community Programs as well. So the only thing that I ask commissioners is that you address all the tough questions to them instead of me, if you have any. We are here today as a resource for the Commission as you work through the rulemaking process in regards to this legislation that was passed last session. Over the last several years, Glenn has made a concerted effort to increase our involvement in SDF grants. Since FY 2016-17, the college has handled over $5.5 million in FDF grant funds. The college has done this in an effort to help our local businesses develop and strengthen the workforce. And of course, one of the other goals of SDF grants is to increase the capacity of community colleges to provide such services. And we at the college are proud to have partnered with TWC to use SDF grant funds to achieve both of these goals. As you know, HB 700 adds local workforce development boards to the list of entities that are eligible to apply for SDF grants. We at the college work with our local workforce board on a regular basis, and we enjoy a very positive working relationship with this important group. Developing the next generation of the Texas workforce is a group effort, and it will take everyone's cooperation to achieve this critical goal. Also, as you know, currently the local workforce boards are involved in the approval process of an SDF grant from a community college. Now that the local boards are eligible to apply for SDF grants, in order to maintain the positive working relationship, it's vital that the rulemaking process contain very specific language laying out the parameters of the local board's involvement in the approval process while taking into account their ability to now make their own SDF grant application. The ability to be involved in the approval process while also wearing a secondary hat of applicant can be ripe for issue and confusion. I believe both the local boards and community colleges play a key role in training the next generation of Texans, and we're just looking for some clarification in the rulemaking process that lays out these new roles as we go forward. Thank you once again for allowing the college to be a part of the rulemaking process in regards to HB 700. I appreciate all the work of the commission and the relationship the college shares with TWC. Further, I want to continue to offer up the assistance of Glenn College in any way possible, both on this matter and any matter in the future. And thank you once again for allowing us to make comments today.
Thank you. I believe those are all of our registrants. This would be the appropriate time if someone else would like to provide comments. Commissioners, this matter is now before you for your deliberation.
Thank you, Mr. Troman. Commissioners, if I could, by way of kind of an opening, I was prepared today and remain prepared today to go through these amendments that have been laid out over the last couple of weeks. I think there's been a lot of work and thought and effort put into finding ways to improve the program, and I'm very happy about that. I think everybody's focused on making sure that we have the best possible program that we can have to help Texas employers and our Texas workforce find each other and find ways that the state can continue to be successful economically. But I received an email yesterday from staff that lays out a timeline for how this would get done. And I have to admit, I've become very concerned about this timeline overnight as we came into the meeting today. And this has kind of altered maybe a little bit of my thinking of where I think we might be. I think my amendments, which I'm certainly would like to explain further if needed, sort of lay out a vision for how to improve the program. I think at the same time, I think Commissioner Alvarez laid out some excellent ideas and some things that need to be considered and discussed. And while it's likely we don't agree 100% with each other, I even found a couple of amendments of his that I thought definitely gave some strength to the program. But as I lay those types of longer term kind of improvements to the program up against this timeline that we're looking at, I'm starting to think that the need to implement at least the eligibility changes from House Bill 700 may outweigh my interest in making these improvements, particularly since I can come back at a later time to do that. I guess if I were to sum up my feelings at this moment, it would be this. I would be in favor of just in some way postponing further consideration of amendments. Going ahead and passing out the staff proposal that was laid out on October 6th, letting that go to the register. I think we can see from today's commentary that there'll be public comments. What goes to the register is a preliminary rule. We would have an opportunity to come back and revisit things that people have concerns about. the commentary that I heard today leads me to believe that there's some well thought out concerns with that rule package. I think there's always going to be concerns with whatever we do. So what I'm suggesting is that I'm prepared to make a motion to postpone consideration of amendments until next year sometime, so that we can focus on some of our economic recovery efforts and prepare for the upcoming legislative session, and then be able to push this rule package out and go ahead and make these eligibility changes from House Bill 700 and a couple of the reporting changes by passing out staff's proposal that they laid out on October 6th. But before I make that motion, certainly always want to hear from you guys and make sure that everybody's concerns and ideas and thoughts are on the table before we start into the decision-making part of that. So you know my thoughts, and now if I could, I'd ask you to maybe share some of your thoughts with me.
I'm going to defer to Commissioner Alvarez first.
Chairman, let me just get all my paperwork together. You've given me a lot of homework, so let me just get my stuff in line. Let me get my stuff in line, partner. Hold on.
Of course.
Thank you, sir. All right, Chairman, I got a lot of work here, man. A lot of things you've given me in the last couple of weeks. So you can bear with me. So before I respond to your recommendation, I do have some comments that I'd like to read, especially considering the position of Blinn College. And I thank them for taking part in today's discussion. And of course, the gentlemen who represent not only our workforce boards, but Greg Vaughn, if I may.
Yes.
My revisions contained in today's meeting materials speak for themselves. I would like to thank Greg Vaughn and Board Chair Roger Harris and other members of the boards that are listening today for their comments and for their participation. As I have stated previously, Chapter 803 Skills Rule should clearly set forth the core requirements of the law. Chapter 303 of the Labor Code. The rule shall provide standards that supports the core mission of the law, that is to increase the skills level and wages of all workforce. We must ensure that the rule clearly articulates standards that meet those objectives. Too little rule leaves the agency open to litigation. Guidelines are not enforceable, rules are. Any changes to the proposed rules deviating from the bill author's intent may open us to further legislative changes during the upcoming session. These rules have been before the commission since last year. I would like to take notice that we received 2 letters from the bill authors, one in December 2019 and the other one on December 2020. The June 22nd, 2020 letter from Representative Guillen and Senator Powell, who serves on the Education Committee, clearly articulates the importance of continued involvement of the local workforce boards in the development and evaluation of the skills proposals. The June 2020 letter clarified that workforce boards and non-board applicants are not competitors, since workforce boards cannot provide customized training services, and the final decision on the grant application is made by TWC and not the boards. Again, TWC and not the boards. Let me repeat, workforce boards and non-board applicants are not competitors, since workforce boards cannot provide customized training services, and the final decision on the grant applications is made by TWC and not the boards. The bill authors would not have sent 2 letters, one in June and the other one in December, if they didn't want the board's involvement. I want to ensure that the intent of the bill authors is considered in this rule development. Also, we should not lose our focus on the importance of incumbent worker training. In closing, workforce boards are the eyes and ears of the agency at the local level. They understand the training needs of their employers and workers. I think we can all agree that the skills development program has been a success, and the boards have been a big part of that success. Our boards are critical partners, conveners, and not competitors. They are looking out for the workers and employers. Those conclude my remarks regarding my comments. And let me see, I have something else on another page. Okay. Apologize for the delay, Chairman. Chairman, I am also concerned about the timeline. We have been working on these rules since last year. I would agree to postpone, but would not support posting staff's proposal to the Texas Register at this time. I would like to work on a revised rule, then post to the Texas Register. My concern is that the staff's proposals do not adequately reflect the address from the board, the concerns of the board. Those conclude my remarks.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. Let me first of all thank Mr. Roger Harris and Mr. Leighton Schubert for their comments. I think comments that were very, very well put. I too am of the opinion of taking this forward, staff's recommendation, and basically getting that out so that we can hear public comment. We've heard a lot of public comment over the past months, and I think between what Mr. Harris is provided and what Mr. Schubert has provided, if those two are in a position to get together, I think we're going to see something that gets us down the line. And so I appreciate the comments by both. I think we have a unique opportunity to take care of business fastly, especially based on the timelines that were provided by staff on yesterday. And I'm in favor of hearing from you guys from that standpoint, but I really appreciate Mr. Harris and Mr. Schubert's comments, because I think it gets us where we need to go, and it's very, very, very important for us to get this out there for additional public comment, and then we're going to be in a position to act fast from that standpoint.
Thank you. Mr. Trotman? Before I make my motion, I just wanted to have a couple of sort of legal inquiries, unofficial, of course. If something sort of exceeds what you can answer quickly, I hope you'll let me know that you need more time to consider on it. What I want to clarify for my own knowledge, and perhaps the other commissioners, if they don't know as well, is if public comments made on this rule posting, the commission can craft a rule revision for the final rule based on what we see in that public comment. Is my understanding of that correct?
That's correct. Comments that are raised, issues that are raised during the comment period, will of course need to be responded to, but certainly provide the commission, the agency, the flexibility to respond, make changes, adjustments before adoption, whether as long as the issue is raised, the changes can certainly be considered and made at that stage.
So that being the case, if we were to move the staff recommendation to the Texas Register with action today, and even today's public commenters were to submit their commentary to the Register in response to that rule revision, that would place the commission in a position to consider the solutions that they offer and allow us to before we publish the final rule, to make revisions based on their comments.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Chairman, may I ask if Mr. Roger Harris, board chair, can provide us with some input on what he feels about the postponement?
I missed the last part of that, Commissioner. Could you repeat?
If we could ask Roger Harris or Greg Vaughn, any thoughts on our next action and what's being proposed?
We can certainly ask.
Mr. Harris, are you on?
Yes, I am, Commissioner. Go ahead with your question.
Were you able to hear the question that was proposed to us?
Not very clearly. Go ahead.
Chairman, would you mind repeating that?
So in the interest of keeping this process on an adequate timetable, one that we can finish up work by the end of the year. There's a couple ways to proceed on this. I've suggested that I would ask to postpone further consideration of all the amendments that have been laid out, and ask that staff's recommendation that they presented us on October 6th be published in the Texas Register as a preliminary rule open for public comment. What we're discussing with Mr. Trobman is the fact that if there are any public commenters during the rulemaking process, the commission would then be in a position to discuss and act on commentary or suggestions made for improvement during the rule during that time. And Commissioner Alvarez, I'm not sure the nature of your inquiry. I think it was, if we were to just publish staff rules as laid out on October 6th, I think you're wanting to know what his thoughts are on that in terms of the public comment process and how we might work together to address those public comments.
So my input on that question, and the video and the telephone are on different syncs, so it's kind of difficult to follow. But I would need clarification. That my file is quite thick. I probably have them, but I would need clarification on the 10-6 staff recommendations. Having said that, knowing that the clock is running, and I suspect Mr. Trobman would say that we need the 30-day period regardless of what the decision is here, I would propose that you move forward with the 30-day period. If the agreement on the commissioners is to go with the 10-6 staff recommendations, then I would propose or suggest that we do that, and during that period of time, the TOB, the association, will get with Mr. Schubert and see if we can't resolve any of the concerns there between us, and then get back during that 30-day period and make a statement accordingly.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman, I have a question for Les. If we make substantial revisions, Les, to the posted rules, do we have to post them again to the register?
The changes that that we would be talking about that would need to stem from the comments that were received during the comment period, but we would not need to go back through the proposal stage with changes that are made, based upon the comments that were received during the comment period. Hope that answers your question.
Unless it appears that a lot of the staff recommendations are germane to the actual House bill, where our intent was to add workforce boards and add Texas A&M, different things of that nature. And so that's primarily, and then there was that issue of competition. But as the chairman has stated, I think we're in a position to post it, and whatever comes back, we're in a position to act on that from that standpoint.
Chairman, I'd like to take this time to thank you for that recommendation. So great recommendation, and I certainly support that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let me make this in the form of a motion then, so that we can take action today. I don't say that to limit further commentary from the commissioners. Is there anything else we need to say? We can even talk after we make the motion. Let's see if somebody wants to second this. I move we postpone further consideration of all amendments and approve the rules proposal as presented by staff at the October 6, 2020 commission meeting, with instructions to staff to proceed with publishing the proposed rule in the Texas Register.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion
I agree to that.
at this point, so we can engage in discussion if you'd like.
I agree as well, Chairman.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote. Commissioner Alvarez, how would you vote?
I agree with your motion.
Commissioner Demerson?
In favor.
And I'm voting aye as well. Mr. Trobman, do we need to do anything else at this point with regard to this this particular item or this action?
No, sir, we're covered.
Let me, before we close out here today, just say a couple things. One, to Mr. Harris, very thoughtful comments, and I appreciate that very much. You've laid out an exceptional amount of material, and Ms. Schubert, I think also the same. You've laid out some things for us to think about. I appreciate really what I heard today. It seemed like a real willingness to work to resolve an issue that you may have. I appreciate your willingness to help us work through this process and help us move toward some conclusion here. I know that staff worked very hard on this, and I appreciate it. I seldom do this, and so this will come as a shock to the folks that work with me on a daily basis. I usually don't get COVID credit for very much, but it did slow us down on this one. And we've been so busy working on our unemployment insurance side of the house that we haven't had as much attention to give to what I think is an exceptional program and one that really helps drive the economy in the state of Texas. And so to staff, thank you. To everyone who had amendments and concerns and questions, you know, a lot of those have been postponed today, and I apologize for that, but I think we can do a lot better job for TWC and help the agency be stronger if we just postpone commentary for that to a later time. At this point, I'm ready to adjourn, but commissioners, I took personal privilege to make some comments, and I offer the same to you.
Aaron, you want to say anything?
I always defer to my senior.
Okay, to the tallest guy, So, Chairman, I just want to take this opportunity. Thank you for putting this exercise in front of us. It certainly prepares us, but I agree with you. The importance of other things are certainly important. All matters that come to the commission are important to all of us. And I do want to take an opportunity to thank all of those that did provide public comment. Blinn College was my second skills development check signing event. So there's a special spot for Blinn College. And then of course what they do at Relish with Texas A&M, being able to tour the facility with Regent Mike Hernandez was a treat. And so we're very excited about all the great things that Blinn College is doing. And again, Chairman, thank you for taking the lead on this. We look forward to further discussions on this and continue to work with your office. And again, I also would like to take this opportunity to thank Les, his team, and all the members of staff who have put many hours in this for the last 3 weekends. I know we've been working on it. So thank you for that. And so we look forward to the discussions in the future on this and to the boards. Thank you.
Yeah, I said, let's just continue to make progress. We're moving along.
Well, gentlemen, as always, when we come together as a team, we seem to be able to do good things. It would be appropriate to consider a motion to adjourn at this point.
Chairman, if we all put our hands in there and we say, you ready? Go labor.
Labor, employers, it takes all of it to make this economy hum.
It does. Thank you, Chairman. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. I look forward to seeing you.
Move to adjourn.
This proffer. So,
Somebody needs to move to adjourn.
has he moved?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. For second.
It's been moved second to adjourn. I'm very much in agreement with that. And everybody, really appreciate it and have a great week.
Rock on.
Thank you.
All right.